Okay, this is part 6 of the do-it-yourself Android car stereo out of a tablet. Today we're going to talk about cases and mounts, since this is going into a 2021 Wolverine X2. I mean, you can use a lot of these still in a car, but this will be primarily for off-roading, so we want to make sure we do something really good. Now, I wanted a waterproof case, which proved a lot harder to get than I assumed it would be. Years ago, you could get a waterproof case for many types of tablets, and definitely Samsungs, Apples. But apparently manufacturers got wise to the fact that they spent a lot of money making all those tablets, what percentage of people actually bought them, and how much they had left over when the model changed. So it was extremely difficult to find a waterproof tablet case that was like the old otter boxes of the day for iPods, and there was other companies that also made them, but today it's really hard to find one. And as we talked about in part 1, selecting your tablet to get the OTG features and the things that you need basically sticks you with a certain number of tablets. Now you can only look for waterproof cases for those certain number of tablets, which makes it even harder to find. So I could not find a true waterproof case for this Samsung Galaxy SMT510. They just don't exist. Now, I'm going to start off by talking about this first company, and then we'll get to the case that I selected. This company right here, ArmorX.com. Stay away from them. I got ripped off, so you don't have to. They have a very slick website that looks like they're in America. They're actually in China. But when I purchased this case, it said waterproof, shockproof everywhere. And then underneath that waterproof, shockproof, it said first pick your case. So you click on it and it says, you know, here's a clear one or a black one. Okay, I want a black one. And it adds it to your order, and you know, you go through the process, and it'll take forever to come from China. I chose expedited shipping. Well, they really didn't give you too much information on the case, other than everywhere it showed water splashing, and it showed them on boats and in heavy equipment. So I get this, and it basically is just one of those cheap TPU cases like you'd get on eBay for a phone, which barely offers it any protection at all. And I mean, it'll barely protect it from a sneeze. It's not going to be any form of water, splash, anything protection. Now, why did I buy this case? And I think this case, it was either $25 or $30. The only reason I even went to ArmorX was because as soon as you put in waterproof case, they're the site that comes up. And first you see the case in all these waterproof conditions, but they never really get into much. And then they show you an exploded view of another case that turns out isn't even the same case you're getting, but they keep showing pictures side by side. It's definitely to bait and switch you. Now, one of the main reasons why I did order it, when I didn't realize it was just crappy TPU case, is that you can slide the it's got like a little, what do you call it here? You unlock it, and then it's got like a little stand. It also comes with a little handle you can put here. But the thing about it that I really liked was you could slide that out, and you could purchase this, which then slid in to that opening, and it gives you like a ram mount, like the ball for mounting it. So I thought, that's really cool. That's the case. I'm buying it. So I ordered it with, you know, a few accessories, and when it came, I was totally in shock. Now, they call this, they didn't say it at that time. Now, if you go to the website, the descriptions have changed. It says it's a TPU case, but they call this a shockproof case. I'm telling you right now, if you drop your tablet in this or you hit something against it, it's breaking. This would be the most minimal protection that you could put on a tablet at all. So as far as ArmorX goes, do not buy a case from them. If you Google ArmorX reviews or ArmorX scam, you'll find a lot of people saying the same thing I said, that they were duped into buying it as a waterproof case. It's not waterproof. And I tried to get my money back through PayPal, and I said I'll be happy to send the products back, just give me a label due to false advertising. And I lost the PayPal case. So I called up PayPal and asked them why. I was told we asked for a link to the product, and we went there. And after Armor X gave us their response, we found in their favor because you just bought the wrong product. So I went back to the website, and the website had changed. And although a lot of the misleading information was there now, when you went into the description of this, it said TPU case, it said all kinds of things that weren't there when I bought it. And also that little way that I bought it, where it said get your shockproof waterproof case, step 1, purchase your case, and you clicked on it and it said here's the 2 models, and you clicked on one. That's gone now. Now you have to go into the description and you actually see that it's junk. This may be fine for somebody at a desk, or if you're in an inside environment in a car. This may work okay, but it is not the shockproof, first of all. And second of all, in no way is it waterproof. And now if you go to the site, it says shockproof or waterproof. So they're kind of getting their website tuned in a little more so you don't get ripped off. But there is a positive to Armor X. And the positive is I also bought one of their mounts that's similar to a RAM mount. And this is actually very well made. Gives you a little bit more movement than a RAM mount would. But the great thing about it is that this center rubber piece, when you undo the fastener all the way, you put your wire in there. So you've got it on your, and it also had one on the tablet mount. You put your wire in, then you run your wire in here, and then it goes through the panel. That was a really neat feature. And the mount is well made. The base is basically identical to a RAM mount without the RAM mount name on it. The centerpiece has a bigger handle. I like it. I like this. This is useless to me. I bought 2 of those for the backs of the tablets, but a regular RAM mount will fit in there, so I may end up still using this as part of my mount setup. But so their mounts are good. I like them a lot, but stay away from their cases, and if you go read the reviews, you'll see that. All right, enough for anything about Armor X. So I was really limited to the type of cases that would be water resistant or waterproof. This is a case that's available on Amazon. You can find them from $20, $25. Some sell them higher. They're all exactly the same. It's a nice case. It basically sits the tablet into a plastic rear section. Tablet sits in there. Oh, it would sit like this. Here's the camera. Tablet sits in there. Then you would put the rubber piece on like it was, and then this piece snaps on and holds it all really tight and well. Now I would say that this is a shockproof case. It's very well made. It also has a kickstand on the back. It has a hand strap you can use. It rotates. All that is great. So the only thing as far as water repellent, one, since I'm not going to be using the headphone jack, I bought these on Amazon. Of course, I didn't notice there was a piece of tape on here. Let's get this off. These are little plugs that you can stick in USB ports, headphone jacks, and it gets rid of the opening and seals it for you. Here we go. So this is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. That is for the headphone jack, and that will go in and seal that. So I'll be putting that inside on the headphone jack. And then the only other place where water could easily go in, there's 4 holes here and 4 holes here on the side, I guess, for cooling that go here and here. Now, I don't know if I'm just going to initially stick a piece of tape over them to see if anything overheats. I might fill those 4 holes with a little bit of silicone, and that'll be fine. But as a case goes for shockproof and water resistant, this was the best one out there, and the price wasn't bad. Like I said, I think I paid for this one $20 or $21. So now we get to the mounting. Now, you could easily just take this Velcro handle off and you could just screw your mount right there. You've got some recesses, so your screw heads. But the problem I have with that is that this is a two-piece disc, and there's only 4 screws holding it, and they go into plastic. And those of you that have screwed into plastic before understand what I'm saying. The plastic could give away at any second because this is meant to be while it's in your hand and rotating it. So I'd like to do something a little more sturdy. Oh yeah, one more thing on the case before we move on. This case comes 2 ways for the Samsung Galaxy SMT510. I chose to buy it without a screen protector. You can also get it where it comes with a screen protector. I chose to put tempered glass over the front, an anti-glare glass. So I'll give the link to that. I'll give the link to both cases, the one with the screen protector, the one without. Alright, so here we'll take the screws out and I'll show you what's going on here. Excuse my dirty sleeves, I was working on a motor. Okay, so here we are, taking the 4 screws, and now what I can do is I can take this apart. Now you see this piece comes out and the back's right there, and so the only place that you're attaching is in these, and if you look, one's already got a crack in it, that one's deformed, that one looks a little big, and that one looks fine. So that's where the problem, I don't want this thing in there mounted to this, bouncing up and down, and the screws break off, the tablet falls off. I don't want somebody to grab it to move it, and the RAM mount is tight, and they snap it off. So I want to come up with a better mounting system. So I'm going to get rid of this completely. And what I did was, I ordered some aluminum discs off eBay. 5-inch aluminum disc, fits right in there. It does not come above the surface. These are 1/8 inch thick, and it almost fits the opening perfectly. Okay, now I have another one. I bought 2 of them. I have another one that I'm going to put that's going to fit into this recessed area, but 5 inches a hair too big. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down so that it fits in, and then I can sandwich these kind of the same way the other one does, and then I can mount to that surface. So I'll break in a couple of seconds and we'll go and shoot a video of how I'm going to trim these down. But before I do that, let's talk about mounts. Once I have those aluminum discs on there and mounted, we're going to need to mount this in the vehicle. Now, on the back of these discs, I'm going to go with RAM mounts. I don't know which of these I'll go with yet. This one would have to be off center a little because of the opening being off to the side on this one. So I may have some of this hanging over the edge. So I don't know if I'll go with that or I'll just go with something that sits off center like that. I'm assuming that this would be just as strong as this would, being where it needs to be would be like that. So you're really only mounting there. So this might actually end up being stronger. I don't know if any of you are familiar with RAM mounts. They're probably the best mounts you can get for any vehicle, any type. They make almost any type of mount you could possibly, imagine up. And they make cell phone holders and tablet holders. They make all kinds of stuff. So I can't recommend RAM mounts enough. Now, this, I have 2 of these. This is definitely going to go into the Wolverine on the dash, and I'll put a backup piece of aluminum behind the plastic dash to stop flexing, and so that would be in there. Now, once this is on the back here, they make a variety of extensions that can go on. Loosen it up a little. They make a variety of extensions that you can put on. So what you'd end up with is that mounted to the dash, the tablet right here, and then you could move the tablet pretty much anywhere you needed it. Now, if that length is too long here and it doesn't fit your needs, they make much shorter ones that you could put on. Like I said, RAM mount if you go to the ram mount site, you'll be overwhelmed with the amount of options that you have from ram mount. Now, as we also talked about, I'll show you in a sec. See, so now you've got a shorter one. You can get it up pretty close to the dash. I mean, it's probably going to sit out a little bit. So ram mounts is what I'll be using definitely. I told you that I got this Armor X mount. The only thing I'm worried about with the Armor X mount, hold on and I'll show you the, you can put, because they both use the same 1-inch balls, so you can put the ram mount at the top. You can do this, and I can put the long bar there. The problem is the length of this. This seems to be the length when I held everything up to the dash that I'm going to go with. This is a little bit longer. I know it doesn't seem like much, but that might end up being too long. I do want to use it because of the wire routing, but we'll have to see how it goes. But ram mounts, definitely the way to go. I'm going to leave you now, and I'll be back to show you how we're going to trim these discs down. Thanks for watching. Okay, we're back after the resizing of one of the aluminum discs. I'll give you a rundown. Since I'm by myself, it's kind of hard to film it while I do it. So, okay, so the first thing I did was I put the both discs together and I drilled a 1/4-inch hole through them dead center. Now, I don't know if you saw that cool little tool I used for that. Let me just grab that and I'll show you. Okay, this tool you can buy on Amazon or eBay. They're about 20 bucks. What it allows you to do is you just put the disc into it, go across, twist it, go across again. I usually do it 3 or 4 times to make sure it finds the exact center of the disc. You can also use this with square pieces. I use a scribe, like an awl, just make the line. Then when I'm done, I use a center punch it to make my mark for my drill. I put these in the drill press, I put them together, I drilled a 1/4-inch hole through the center. Now this disc here fits almost perfectly in the center. Okay, now on the disc that I needed to fit on this side, you can see way too big. So on one of the discs I put a 1/4-inch bolt through it with a couple of lock nuts on either side, tightened it, stuck it into the drill press and let it spin. Then I held a rough file up against it to start trimming down the size of this disc. What I did was I took a Sharpie while it was spinning and made mark the thickness of the Sharpie so that I wouldn't go too far. So I had a mark as I made it smaller. I measured it. I did put a little scratch mark where the size was I needed to go to. So what I did was I did the Sharpie right before it. And I did it with a rough file. It took a little bit longer than I would have liked it to, but here's the thing. I don't have a lathe, so we got to do what we got to do. So once it got down to just about the size, then I took some rough emery sandpaper and just smoothed it out so you couldn't get cut on it. I kept walking over, trying this up against it, and as you can see, it now fits actually perfectly into that hole. So now we put this on the other side. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some JB weld. I'm going to JB weld this one in. I'll scuff it up first. And then I'm going to put JB Weld all around here, and I'm going to put silicone in the middle because there is a space. I'll put silicone in here. I'll put JB Weld all around here. I will put this one and this one together. I will put the bolt through the center that I made so they're both lined up perfectly. I'll tighten this up, and then I will leave it alone for 24 hours while this all sets. After that, I'll come back and I will then drill the holes where I need to put my mount so that the ball is in the center. And this will be pretty much done. As far as nothing now is going to break. This isn't going to come apart. This is going to be a great mount. Now when I go to do the screws to mount the excuse me, ram mount, I'm probably going to have to use some screws where I can countersink the heads in so they'll be flat. This is 1/4 inch thick, and I think I'm only using, I think they're 1024 screws, so I should be able to get some 1024 screws that I can just flush mount into here, machine screws. Shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to go mix up the epoxy now and get this going, and then we'll come back when that's dry. Okay, we're continuing on with part 6. You just saw how I fit the aluminum discs that I purchased on the casing. Since I didn't have a lathe or another way to do it, I just put them in the drill press and used a file and some heavy grit sandpaper and then some fine grit sandpaper, and it ended up fitting like a glove. Now, you also, let's see what we got here. This is it. I just have a makeshift mount here on the table so I can show you. And we'll loosen her out of here. And there she is. So what I did was I got the aluminum discs. The front disc that's on the inside fit fine size-wise. This one was too big, so you saw in the video that I got it to fit perfectly. I then drilled 4 holes, and I used a number, what is this, a number 12? This is a number 12 countersink that I used. I drilled the holes from, first I drew the pilot hole from the back to the front, and then from the front I came in and countersunk it so I could use these 1-inch 1032 screws. These are Hillman screws. They come in a 3-pack, so you'd have to buy 2 packs. They're Hillman number 884872. I picked them up at Lowe's. I then used, and by the way, stainless steel, and then I used stainless steel nylon lock nut and a stainless steel number 10 washer to mount it. Now that further, besides the fact that I've already epoxied in with JB Weld both of the aluminum discs, but I also in the center I ended up using a 3M marine adhesive in the middle that I squished together. Now once you put these in, this isn't going to rotate, definitely isn't going to pull off like I was afraid of with the handle that came with it, only being mounted by those 4 tiny screws and thin plastic. So this now will take the abuse of bouncing up and down, and I am not afraid at all that this will fall off. Once I got the discs done, I taped off the case and sprayed both sides with I'm not going to be able to remember what it is right now. Plastidip. I sprayed it with Plastidip. And of course, I started to pull on it too early. As I peeled the tape off, I had gone around it with a razor blade to make sure that none of the Plastidip spray would cause it to pull up, and I missed this one tiny area. I must not have pressed with the razor blade hard enough. So I was pulling it quick, and the edge lifted. So what I did was I just used a little bit of black liquid electrical tape and just painted it there. That's why you see that one little shiny spot. But other than that, it came out perfect. It's sturdy. This is the mount I'll be using in the Wolverine, and the case, and I mentioned before, this case comes 2 ways. It comes just like you see it, and I put a piece of tempered glass over the front, or you can get it with a plastic screen built in and it'll go on. But what I found is that in the long run, those don't last long and they get scratched pretty easily. So I went with the tempered glass. I also, on the vent holes here, I looked, they really don't provide any real circulation. So I just put a piece of vinyl tape across them on the inside. And don't forget, I also plugged the head jack input with the little rubber plugs that I got on Amazon, and I'll give you the link to those too. This is all they are. They just go into the head jack. They're like a dust protector, so I put those in. So that pretty much is the mount I'll be using in the Wolverine. It was the best combination that I could come up with. And you see the little makeshift stand I've got here just so I can talk to you about this and have it in a good position. Okay, now I had talked about cases and mounts earlier in this, and I forgot to mention one mount. It's this RAM mount. Let me push this back a little. Move it over here. Now, this RAM mount here is made for tablets. It's spring-loaded. On the back, you have to buy your ball separately, and you mount it on, and then you've got your tablet mount. While I think this is a good mount, and I love RAM products, here's what I went through. When the tablets by itself are in a very thin case, this works well. I don't think I still would have used it. It was a little bulky for me. Now, once you put on a rugged case, kind of like the case that I'm using, it fits very, very snug inside these rails, almost too snug, like you're forcing it. The second thing is, because of the depth of the case, especially with this piece on it, you're forced to then use these risers that RAM sells. So this is another piece you have to buy, and then what it does is it raises this portion up, I don't know, about a ½ inch, so that now you have the clearance here for this back piece. What I found was it didn't fit really well with the rugged case. It really made it stand out pretty far, so I decided that this wasn't a good way to go. Like I said, you're going to use a thin TPU case on your tablet, and you just want it, you know, so you can pop your tablet in and out. This is definitely the way to go. It's easy, it's quick, but for what I was looking for mounting it, it just wasn't going to fit my needs. Alright, now the other thing is, let me get another piece out here to show you. The other thing is that this is probably going to be what I end up using. This will be mounted to the dashboard. I'll probably put a piece of aluminum plate behind it, because rubbery plastic, that's kind of like a nylon-y plastic they use in there, and it will flex. So I want to make sure that I want as little vibration and bouncing as possible. So it looks like this is the setup that I'll probably use in the Wolverine. But if I have too much bouncing and, you know, the screen's vibrating while you're driving along, I'm going to have to step up. And this is a used one from one of my boats. So this is the next size up in RAM mounts, this size ball. And you can see it sits up a lot higher than this one. You can see the difference right away. Now, this will give me much more stability. The holes align perfectly, so if I put this in and it's too bouncy, I can unbolt it, bolt this one right in its place. You can see the difference in the mounts. This is a longer one. I'd have to get a shorter one. I'm not sure how short they make these. And I'd also have to get this with that size ball on it. So the reason that I didn't want to just go with this in the first place is that it's pretty substantial size-wise, and even if it sat pretty much like this, with this one like that, it's still going to stick out pretty far. And I wanted this to be able to have a really clean in-dash feel, and if I wanted to, then I can loosen this and I can bring it out towards me or above and then have this pointed down so it sits up high. So I wanted, you know, the flexibility to do that, but this is giant. This was, I think this was on a fish finder I had in one of my boats. But that's where I'll go if this setup vibrates. Now, like I said before, RAM makes a variety of mounts. They make a variety of just everything. You'd be really shocked if you sit there and go through their site. This is another piece that they make that allows you not only to have your pivots, but this one will allow you to also turn the item. So you can change the actual angle it sits at. Now, this is great. One little drawback to it is instead of them just having it infinitely pivot, it's actually sitting in there on a hex head. So you have predefined locations for it that you can pick. So it's not as simple as just spinning it and putting it where you want it. You have to pick one of their predetermined stop spots. But again, everything that Ram makes is amazing. It really is good quality. I can't tell you what a great company they are as far as customer service if you have a problem or anything. So I can't sell Ram enough on that. So as far as back to this mount here, this mount's done, and this will be the end of part 6. Next will come part 7. In part 7, I'm basically going to do a roundup with everything hooked up, and I'm going to go over the other apps and customization to the screen and launchers, and I'll go over all of that in part 7. But this wraps up part 6, and I'll see you soon.